Hello viewers, the British Foreign Secretary David Lammy is here. He's having meetings with Pakistan's representatives. He's already had a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar. I spoke to Pakistan's High Commissioner to UK, Dr. Faisal, yesterday on my show at Sama, and he told me that the visit had been planned before the war had started. But my own information is that the visit's dates were different. Now the precarious regional situation has created a compulsion for David Lammy to be here. So his visit had to be adjusted to the new realities here. The information that we have is that he will have meetings with the other representatives of the Pakistani state as well. Not all the meetings will be publicized. He is also given a deep background briefing as to what transpired. The British obviously are in the know of it. Their system is well aware of the fact that this region came this close to fighting a nuclear war, that Trump had to intervene, that the world had to intervene, including London, in order to keep this war prospect at bay. The next phase is very important. David Lammy has landed here on a day when the Indian Defence Minister has again spoken as if he's talking to the besieged Palestinians, and he happens to be Netanyahu. He's suggesting that if Pakistan's behavior improves, then it's okay. If not, then we will administer the strictest of punishments. Mr. Rajnath Singh is the Sheikh Rashid version of Indian establishment. But frankly, the more I look at his statements, I think it's unfair to make this comparison. Sheikh Rashid still does make more sense. However, when he, as the Defence Minister of India, speaks the way he speaks and says things the way what he has said, it obviously rings alarm bell all across the world. So Mr. David Lammy is here to, number one, see what London can do in order to sustain this precarious and delicately balanced ceasefire. Americans they've got a loaded plate. They have got other things to do. So generally what happens is that they kind of outsource day-to-day management, diplomatic management and intervention to London. So I do not know whether this still seems to be the formula. Trump sort of speaks at the strategic level, and London does the additional work of giving them a sense that, yeah, what they did is sustaining. But his visit is not just focused on what the Americans have done. His visit has got a lot to do with the domestic situation back home in UK. More on that after Faisal has given you his perspective.
Worrying reports are coming out of India. If you look at the press, they're saying that India plans to hike its defense budget. The reports also already said that India is also buying BrahMos missiles from Russia. So Modi is jacking up his rhetoric and is also saying that we want another war. That is compounding the problem here. You see, if you ignore the problem, which is really Kashmir in this case, the question is, can India rule Kashmir or run its daily affairs without keeping that much of army there? 5 lakh army, 7 lakh army personnel. So it's hard to sustain that, but they're keeping that, but they're doing that. So if you realize what really the problem is, or the core of the problem is, you will not be able to solve it. You say that you want to get even with Pakistan. That will not work for you in the long run. What will work for you in the long run is Kashmir. So there is no need for Indians to get angry over Trump's statements. And I believe when Donald Trump stated that we want to mediate on Kashmir, that was the right strategy. So he immediately realized, after telling both countries to back off, no more war, no more fighting, he came down to the core issue, which is Kashmir. So India needs to realize that Kashmir is the real problem. And then they try to bring in other problems to make matters worse. For example, holding Indus Water Treaty in abeyance is not part of solution. It is part of problem. So the more they bring in more problems, they'll complicate the matter. So Pakistanis are saying that we want to hold composite dialogues. That is like a shift I guess there was an opportunity when Trump said to offer to mediate on Kashmir. Pakistani should have grabbed it with both hands. They did welcome it. They should have pushed more on Trump's statement. But instead, they've come out with this offer that let's sit down across the table and talk about all our issues, be it Kashmir, be it water, be it Sir Creek. So the composite dialogue provides India with another opportunity, and they had been saying it all along that we do not believe in mediation by a third party. We want to hold dialogues directly with Pakistan. Here is the opportunity. Grab it.
I think the Trump mediation has now expanded to include other actors as well. It is not just the US that has been pushing it. That push came, of course, as Faisal pointed out. It also ended up highlighting the Kashmir issue. India wants to add to the basket of problems in South Asia. It wants to have more complex relations with Pakistan. Pakistan's tendency is to go back to the fundamentals, talk about composite dialogue. Now, composite dialogue already has a framework. It has issues identified. It has a whole history. So Pakistan wants to start where it was left. India wants to create a new negotiating deadline or a benchmark. The deadline is that, you do this, and then we do that. You dismantle what they call terrorist network, and then we talk to you. And the deadline is that any event that might take place in the future is your deadline. We don't know, it might take place tomorrow, it might take place 2 months down the line, but do it before that happens. That's sort of a deadline. That's sort of a shift they have brought about. And they are also creating a new benchmark. The benchmark is Indus Water Treaty. The benchmark is terrorist infrastructure. The benchmark is what they call the new normal, the strikes that they did, and of course they got a bloody nose in return. That's the new normal that they're trying to create. It'll be interesting to see how Mr. Lammy is able to then build on rationality here in this region, build on the idea of a composite dialogue, build on the idea of engagement, build on the idea of investigation into Pahalgam affairs, build on the idea of DGMO's meeting, ceasefire holding, and turning into long-term peace around the border region. They also have another compulsion. Remember that in UK, Indian and Pakistani communities are highly entrenched. They are very large in numbers. They control a lot of aspects of the local economy. They live literally next to each other, and they intermingle well till such time a certain Hindutva ideology started to permeate into the Indian expat community's mindset as well. So the Brits are really worried, as are the Americans, by the way, and in certain areas in Europe as well, that if this tension continues to happen and bedevil ties between India and Pakistan, the communities will be flying at each other's throat. And that is something which is a real no-no for, and it'll be a nightmare for them in UK. You do not want the two countries battling it out here in the borders and the communities fighting it out in the streets of London and elsewhere. I think that's the domestic compulsion that he comes with when he visits Pakistan. But here, of course, he's getting to listen to what seems to be the voice of reason, composite dialogue, engagement.
Reason is never India's policy. I look at Indian policy and I feel that it is totally flawed when it comes to South Asia. This desire to dominate South Asia has really wreaked havoc with the regional politics. They give rise to arms race here. The Pakistan responds because it wants to create balance of power. And I'm thinking now, the reports are that ceasefire, it lasts till May 18th. Then you would have to decide what to do with ceasefire again. And these are military to military talks. There are no political leaders involved in this talk. And when I look at the Pakistani side, as I had earlier said, that they had offered composite dialogue. But when I look at the Indian side, the politicians are talking about raising defense budget, buying missiles, telling their audience that, Operation Sindoor is continuing. So there is no real plan on Indian side to de-escalate the matter, but rather the plan appears to be to escalate the situation more. So Indian side needs to come out and say that this is exactly what we want after the ceasefire, because the ceasefire, it is very clear. There are no two opinions in my mind who went to the Americans and asked for a ceasefire. Isaac Dar had been saying that when Secretary of State Marco Rubio called him up, Marco Rubio told Isaac Dar that India wants ceasefire, and Isaac Dar agreed to it. So this is how it happened. The Indians had already been messaging Americans, and earlier, we talked about this aspect yesterday. There are reports that say that Indians are now saying we've been keeping Americans in the loop all along, even before we launched the strikes. So Indian side needs to come out clean on this, shed this rhetoric of war, and come out with a formula to hold talks with Pakistani side.
Let's see whether this engagement with Pakistan by London and by the Americans also turns into some sort of a shuttle diplomacy. Only the future will tell us whether this effort is going to be purely bilateral, or is it going to become a really global effort to keep the war prospects at bay and drill some sanity into the minds of the Indians who seem to be bent upon precipitating another crisis. Stay tuned.